Yeah, well, we talked about it. You talked about Monet at the beginning of the show, and we're so happy to be talking about the cause of the camp for the canonization. Blessed Solanus Casey, and we have Father Edward Foley with us, who is the vice postulator of the cause. Thank you so much, Father Ed, for being with us.
You're welcome. It's a delight to be with you this morning.
And for those who might not know about Blessed Solanus Casey, could you talk to us a little bit about him? What should American Catholics know about this great man?
Well, I think American Catholics would connect very much that he is very much an American blessed. He was from an Irish family, farm kid, 6 of 16, lived in Wisconsin. He was born in 1870, had a conversion experience, went to seminary, didn't do very well. They said, why don't you join the Capuchins? He became he still didn't do very well in school, but he was ordained but never given permission to hear confessions. And he ended up being the doorkeeper. And he opened the door for thousands and thousands of people to God. And he eventually became the reason why people came to the door.
Wow. I feel like this is the story of so many saints that we have today, where their lowliness just really elevates them into heaven and into the saints that we pray for intercession today. So obviously we know that he is blessed. Can you just explain a little bit of what the process looks like from here for his canonization, God willing, that will be happening?
Right. So ordinarily, though the Pope can dispense with this, ordinarily to be declared a saint, a second miracle has to be approved. He was the first U.S.-born male to have a miracle recognized by Rome in 2017. So we get many, many people sending in what we call a favor report, reporting various healings and whatever. And we have about 14 pro bono doctors who look at the favor reports for us, and many of those then we get the medical records for, and we are in contact with our leader in Rome, the postulator general, who tells us whether or not we start an investigation in the diocese where the purported miracle took place. And eventually those go to the Congregation for the Cause of Saints in Rome.
I had the opportunity to visit the Solanus Casey Center in Detroit, and as you mentioned, he was the doorkeeper there, and there were so many unbelievable stories. I wondered if you could maybe share one of the stories, miraculous stories about Blessed Solanus being at the door and the people he encountered.
Right. Well, one of my favorites, which we actually did a TV program on, is that a family came to visit him, and they had a young boy that was carried in because he was not capable of walking. And after they were talking together, the Solanus said to the little boy, well, come here. And the mother said, well, he can't walk. And no, Solanus said, come here. And the little kid got up for the first time and walked right to him. It was one of, all of the stories are not happy because sometimes he could not heal or could not be a source of healing for folk, but many times he was.
Yes. And Father Ed, I would love to hear maybe your take on this. There's a lot of, even some Catholics who struggle with understanding that we pray to the saints for intercession. We're not, worshiping them. Worship is left alone for God. That is owed to him only. But I know there's a lot of people, I was telling you this before we got started today, a lot of friends of mine have a beautiful relationship with Blessed Solanus Casey. They pray for his intercession all the time for their own personal healing. But how can we really turn to the saints, especially Blessed Solanus Casey, to ask for intercession and not get worried about, are we worshiping these particular individuals who are in heaven?
Well, I actually had a 12-year-old asked me, why do we have saints? And he was a big baseball fan. And I said, well, baseball has its Hall of Fame. And there are all sorts of people who are saints. Actually, his mother was deceased. And I said, your mother's a saint. Just like there are a lot of baseball players, but some of them are just outstanding. And so sainthood is sort of the Catholic Church's Hall of Fame. These people have certain characteristics, and I think for Solanus, it's his humanness, his simplicity, his unpretentiousness. He stayed very, very close to his human family, his biological family, hundreds and hundreds of letters between him and his siblings. He was a very down-to-earth Irish farm kid who didn't do really well in school, but did well in the school of life and the school of God.
And if or when Blessed Solanus becomes a saint, he's going to join many Capuchin saints as well, and probably one of the more famous ones, Padre Pio. Maybe talk about some of the commonalities between them, or maybe some of the things that kind of separate them or set them apart.
Well, I think that they're probably more different than they are similar. I mean, Padre Pio was a very celebrated with the stigmata, and was hearing confessions of future popes, and was venerated as a mystic throughout his life. And Solanus was a very he was pious, but he was not somebody who had that kind of public profile. And I think it was his gentleness, his simplicity. He could not hear confessions. He was never given faculties for that. So I think they demonstrate the spectrum of the possibility of sanctity. And what we try to promote about Solanus is that he shows an ordinary life can be a life of holiness, so that he is very accessible to ordinary people. Most people are not going to get the stigmata, but most people can struggle with school and have a great family relationship and live very simply.
That's such a good point. And Father Ed, I know a little while ago in the show, Kevin and I were talking about all the priestly ordinations that are happening right now all throughout the world in all these different dioceses, and it's a blessing to see how these men are giving their yes to the church, to the bride of Christ. Can you tell us a little bit about your community in case any men are watching and maybe they're in a period of discernment and they're considering religious community?
Well, the Capuchins are a 16th century reform. St. Francis wrote a very, very simple rule. Over the centuries, various communities have written interpretations of that rule. The OFMs, the conventuals, and the Capuchins did the same thing in the 16th century. We, in our community, sort of focus on ministering to the marginalized. We have soup kitchens. We preach retreats. And we consider ourselves friars, brothers. So even though some of the brothers are ordained, we are all in a community of brothers, and the commitment to the community is some serve the community through their priestly ministry, and others serve in a whole variety of other ways. So there are about 11,000 of us internationally, and my own province is about 200. We're centered in Detroit, actually right close to where Solanus is buried.
Wonderful. Well, Father Ed, is there any websites or places where people can go to learn more about your community and more about the cause of canonization for Blessed Solanus Casey?
There is a very well-developed website it's simply solanuscasey.org. And we have lots of biographical information. You can hear him speaking or playing the violin badly, which he did. His writings are all posted on there. We try to keep up information about anybody wanting to report a favor. There's a form there they can fill out and send either digitally or by snail mail to me. So it's an exceedingly well designed, and our folk led by Tim Hinkle did a spectacular job of putting that website together.
Wonderful.
solanuscasey.org.
Well, we will continue to pray for this good and holy man to, God willing, be seen as a saint in our church today. Father Ed, thank you for all the good work that you are doing, and thank you for being on the show today.
It was a delight. I appreciate very much the invitation. Have a blessed day.
You as well. God bless you.